covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio. This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio 99.1 FM.
Good day. My name is Amrita Koshal. Time check for you, 12 hours 2, and it is now time for your main newscast. In the headlines, Hess Corporation to spend $1 billion on Guyana projects in 2022 as $450 million set aside to drill more wells. Government to borrow more to fund budget, says Dr. Ashni Singh. 7 held for $18.5 million Rose Hall robbery, and PPP tightens grip on oil fund as it passes motion for House to nominate directors. Meanwhile, workshop owner and alleged carjacker remanded, and Anne Green, along with the CPA, sued for $25 million after leaving 14-year-old girl in lockups. Finally, Aubrey Norton, new leader of APNU, as Granger and Harmon step aside. Stay tuned for details.
Guyana, join me on the Glenn Lal Show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:20 p.m. and a rebroadcast at 11 a.m. The Glenn Lal Show only on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM.
And now back for your news in detail. Hess Corporation, which holds a 30% stake in the Stabroek block, announced on Tuesday that its 2022 exploration and production budget totals $2.6 billion. Approximately 80% will be allocated to its major projects in Guyana and the USA. Expounding further, Hess said it plans to spend $1 billion on its Guyana projects, with $25 million going towards the Liza Phase 1 development on the Stabroek block, where production optimization work is planned in the first quarter of 2022. Kitro News understands that $190 million will go towards the Liza Phase 2 development, and production is expected in the first quarter of 2022. Also, $400 million has been budgeted for the Payara development, with a capacity of approximately 220,000 gross barrels of oil per day, and first production expected in 2024. It was noted that $210 million for the Yellowtail development, with a capacity of approximately 250,000 gross barrels of oil per day, and has said this project is scheduled to commence in 2025. Moving on, we now tell you, while giving the nation a preview of the 2022 national budget, Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, said that the government will be borrowing from both domestic and international sources, despite giving itself free rein to withdraw funds from the oil account. Dr. Singh explained that the government will be striking the right balance to ensure that it honors its arrangement with its international partners, even though the PPP has given itself the green light to access funds from the offshore oil account, which permits the withdrawal of as much as 100% of the fund as at the time of the enactment of the Natural Resource Fund Act in December 2021. The total revenue in the account at the time was just over $607 million. Dr. Singh said the government will be approaching its overseas and local partners for loans to fund its quote-unquote transformational development agenda. And on that note, we tell you that the National Assembly on Monday evening approved a motion by Dr. Ashni Singh for the Parliamentary Committee on Appointments to recommend nominees to serve on 2 boards governing the Natural Resource Fund. Dr. Singh noted that a nominee from the House will sit on the Board of Directors as stipulated in Part 3 of the Act, while another will serve on the Public Accountability and Oversight Committee. Minister Singh emphasized further that the government was clear in its intention to ensure that there was full transparency and accountability in terms of transfer of funds from the NRF to the Consolidated Fund, as this would be scrutinized fully by the National Assembly during every step of the way. In other stories, we now tell you that Anne Green, in her capacity as director of the CPA and the agency, are being sued in excess of $25 million for neglecting a 14-year-old girl in police custody for days where she endured inhumane and adult-like accommodation. The teen is being represented in the matter by her sister and a friend and is seeking $25 million against Green and the agency for negligence, in which they breached the duty of care owed to her, imposed on them by the laws of Guyana. Kitro News understands that the minor was held against her will and under arrest at the East La Penitence police station in a narcotics investigation. The teen is claiming that she spent 5 days in the prisoner's cell at the police station with adult female prisoners. During that time, she was subjected to sleeping in an upright position on a wooden chair, sleeping on a mattress and cardboard on the cold concrete, sexual predatory advances by other prisoners, being foot-cuffed to a wooden chair by her ankles for hours, and infinite pain and trauma. It was further stated that Green and the CPA were aware of the aforementioned transgressions, except the sexual advances. Moving on, leader of the People's National Congress Reform, Aubrey Norton, has taken over the reins of APNU as David Granger and Joseph Harmon step down as chairman and general secretary, respectively. The coalition, according to a statement, held its first EXCO meeting of 2022. The substantive agenda saw the passing of the baton for the continuation and development of coalition politics as Granger and Harmon reported their decision to demit office as chair and general secretary of APNU. The EXCO requested that Harmon continue as general secretary for a period of 7 days to facilitate the smooth transition to a new general secretary. However, Mr. Granger demitted office with immediate effect, paving the way for the election of Norton as the new chairman of APNU. Time check for you, 12 hours 9. We will return with more news for you shortly after the break.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
And now back with more news in detail. A teenager is among 7 persons arrested for the robbery of a businesswoman of some $18.5 million at Rose Hall, Berbice, on Monday. Police have also discovered the getaway motorcycle and the ID card of one of the suspects in the crime. Regional Commander Budnarain Prasad, during a press briefing on Tuesday, disclosed that a motorcycle, suspected to be the getaway mode of transportation for the suspect, was found abandoned in a trench on Monday night. He also revealed that an identification card was found in the seat of the motorcycle. That ID was checked out and it led police to an address on the Lower Quarantine. At the said address, a 17-year-old was found and the teen told police that the ID card belonged to his brother, who has not been located as yet. The teen was taken into custody subsequently. Ravan Singh, the owner of R Singh Workshop, located at Montrose on the east coast of Demerara, and an alleged carjacker, Leon Lewis, aka Turbo, will be spending some time behind bars on remand after they were charged yesterday for their alleged involvement in the recent theft of 2 cars. The defendants were first taken to Sparrowdam Magistrates Court, where they were jointly charged by Magistrate Alicia George for collecting a stolen car from Betubawakting on November 18, 2021. The car belonged to Tyrone Pyers and was stolen from in front of his house. Singh and Lewis pleaded not guilty, but were both remanded until February 21st, 2022. Moving on, we now tell you that NARI on Tuesday announced that ExxonMobil's partner, EEPGL, intends to implement a high-speed fiber optic wireless transport service for its Guyana onshore and offshore facilities, which requires the installation of a submarine fiber optic cable connecting the offshore EEPGL facilities to onshore network services, and will therefore require the removal of some 240 square meters of mangroves and cordgrass, along with some of the riprap boulders that currently form part of the sea defense structure. This is at Ogle on the east coast of Demerara. It added that once EEPGL has wrapped up its operations, it plans to restore the mangroves, cordgrass, and other sea defense infrastructure along the disrupted shoreline. The Institute assured that it would be monitoring the removal of the mangroves and cordgrass as well as the subsequent restoration of the area to mitigate the impact on the emerging mangrove fringe at Ogle. And finally, we tell you that during the opening of tenders on Tuesday at Empitap, a Canadian company, One World Industry Specialist Incorporated, was among 2 other companies who applied for the contract to upgrade Oracle software for GWI. The company placed a bid of $85 million for the project. See the full details in today's Kaieteur News. And now time for your COVID-19 update. According to the Ministry of Health, during the last 5 days, a total of 10 persons who contracted COVID-19 have died. Guyana's COVID-19 death toll has moved to 1,148. The country's latest fatalities are that of 6 women and 4 men. The ministry has recorded 372 new infections, taking the total number of confirmed cases to 57,772. 20 patients are admitted into the ICU, 163 persons in institutional isolation, 12,682 in home isolation, and 11 in institutional quarantine. To date, a total of 43,759 persons have recovered from the virus. We now turn your attention to page 7 of the Kaieteur News, dedicated to being blunt. Corruption in Guyana on the rise again, screams one of our headlines today. This is not according to us at this publication, but the Transparency International Corruption Index. The Corruption Perception Index, which is the most widely used corruption ranking in the world. The lower the score on the index, the more corrupt is the country. In 2020, Guyana's score was 41, but by 2021, it dipped by 2. It is high time that patriotic Guyanese join hands and help to stamp out corruption in our land. Time check for you, 12 hours 15. My name is Amrita Koshal, and this was your main newscast right here on Kaieteur Radio.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465